The day starts like every other Saturday in Springshard, sitting at the bar of Dottie's with a plate of caribou eggs and bacon, and a glass of tomato smoothie that's really just ketchup. As I pick up my eggs, Dottie wipes down a counter. Xavier Moss, editor of the Springshard Chronicle, and my boss works on what is probably his 10th cup of coffee, and other patrons sit at peeling red leather booths as they gnaw on hard gray biscuits that I'm 97% sure are rocks, and rubbery goose eggs. I sit and flip through the daily paper, taking in the daily announcements and news. This week, Springshard High welcomes their newest teacher, Miss Lauren Cherry, who is a sentient piece of banana cream pie. Principal Simmons brought Miss Cherry to the press meeting carrying her on a silver tray. Simmons told the press that he was glad to have Miss Cherry on the staff and that this was a huge step forward in human pie equality. Miss Cherry had nothing to say on the matter, as even though she is sentient, she is still a piece of banana cream pie, and therefore has no mouth. Mayor Tetra Burke has declared this Thursday to be Kitten-Lizard Hybrid Appreciation Day, so be sure to give your building's mandatory kitten-lizard hybrid some love. To commemorate this day, all crickets and milk will be free at the following locations. We sell shoes for your feet, the Hairball Salon, the Frozen Salmon Arena, and City Hall. Please note that none of these places sell either crickets or milk. Tonight is the annual grand opening of City Hall. All are welcome to celebrate this spectacular opening that we have been anticipating for months. As I'm reading the paper, I feel a hand on my shoulder. I look behind me and see Sheriff Orion Fairbrook in his black coat with long coattails, shiny blue V-neck shirt, pair of tight white pants, and tall cowboy hat with the word Sheriff written on it. You know, reading the newspaper is illegal in Springshard, he says. I fold the paper neatly on the counter. So are you going to arrest me? I ask. He gives me a megawatt smile before throwing his head back in laughter, causing his hat to fall to the floor. Arrest you, he exclaims. Miss March, I don't enforce the laws, I just make them. This causes a scoff to sound from a nearby booth. In this booth, I see Mayor Tetra Burns, not very subtly listening to our conversation with a glass on her ear, water pouring out of it onto the floor. Sheriff Orion Fairbrook goes to a far booth, and I turn to Dottie. What was that about? Oh, don't you mind them, Dottie muses. The mayor and the sheriff are having a little spat about who's responsible for what. Been going on for 30 years now. That doesn't seem little, I say. I'm sure they'll get over it. Dottie goes back to wiping down the counter, and I check my watch. I'm meeting up with Chrome this afternoon to go over our latest article, but before that I have a few errands to run. Hey, Dottie, I say, do you know any clock repair places in town? I found an old wooden clock tucked in a closet upstairs in my house. It's absolutely beautiful, but sadly, very broken. Yeah, I know a place, she says. 11th hour, down the street. The shopkeeper is real nice. Ha! Xavier Moss lets out a loud laugh. That old man is a kook. He never comes to any social events, and I'm pretty sure I've never seen him outside his shop. Xavier, be nice. Dottie sharply hits the counter by his mug with her dishcloth. Oleg Higgins is a very nice man. Taryn, darling, don't listen to this old Grinch. 11th hour, just a block down the street. After finishing my meal, I head back to the house to pick up the clock before heading to 11th hour. The shop stands out from the rest of the street. Its black wood exterior contrasts the old brick and white walls of the other buildings lining the street. As I enter the shop, a silver bell rings. My ears are immediately filled with incessant ticking. All around me are clocks of every shape and size. Grandfather clocks, alarm clocks, tall and thin, short and fat. Any type of clock that could be imagined is in this room with me. Hello? I ask. I make my way through the maze of clocks, gently hugging my mid-sized clock to my chest. Is anyone here? Before I can turn the corner around a golden grandfather clock, a pale face with giant bug eyes pops out. I am here. Oleg Higgins? I ask. The man pulls magnifying goggles off his eyes, giving his face its normal dimensions. That is me. Oleg walks through the clocks towards the back of his shop as I tag along. I have an old clock that needs fixing, I explain as we walk. I was told to come to you. Oleg settles onto a stool behind a dark wood counter, and I am able to actually look at him. He's a tall, thin man with an oval face. He's wearing a black sweater, and his magnifying goggles rest upon his smooth silver hair. Well, let me see it, he says. I place the clock onto the counter, and Oleg looks at it deeply. He turns it on all sides and scratches gently at the wood before sniffing it deeply. I stand on the other side of the counter as he does this, awkwardly rocking on the balls of my feet. It'll take some time, but it's doable. Come back tomorrow to pick it up. With that, he places the goggles back on and starts to work on the clock. He is no longer paying attention to me, so at this point, I make my way out of the store and off to meet up with Chrome. That evening, the whole town packs into Circle Square for the annual grand opening of City Hall. The whole town is there. The square is bathed in the warm light of the torches circling the fountain and strings of lights draped across the shops lining the square. The shops and houses on the streets leading to the square are dark. Everyone is at this event. Well, almost everyone. Looking down Main Street, I see light pouring from a single window. The top floor of 11th hour. My thoughts are interrupted by a perky voice. Taryn, how are you enjoying the ceremony? It's Mayor Tetra Burns. It's nice, I say. Tetra, can I ask you a question? Tetra nods vigorously. Why does Oleg Higgins not come to any events? Why do people think he's crazy? Tetra nods. That man tends to keep to himself, she explains. He only really goes out at night, and doesn't really socialize, not to mention all his conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories? Ah, yes, Tetra continues. The man thinks that whales live in the ocean. Everyone knows that whales are fictional, and even in the myths they live in caves. He also makes his own cereal from grains. Imagine, all the best cereal is made from pencil shavings. He has quite a few crazy ideas. I'll have to remind myself to never eat cereal in this town again. But Oleg Higgins sounds absolutely normal. I guess that's why this town thinks he's crazy. Normality among insanity is often thought to be the other way around. The ceremony continues as Tetra gives her speech about how Town Hall will be beneficial for the city and how this tradition of the grand opening has occurred for over 100 years. As she continues on her speech, I slowly back my way through the throngs of people and head down Main Street. I finally reach the door of 11th hour and am shocked to see that it's unlocked. I slowly and quietly make my way into the shop. The lights are all off, and even the ticks from the clocks seem quieter, almost as if they're all settling down for a long rest. As I'm finally alone in the shop, I take a second to look at the clocks. Every clock has a 6 where the 12 should be, and a 12 where the 6 should be. They also have a 9 where the 3 should be, and the 3 is where the 9 should be. Every number is in the absolute opposite of where it should be, almost like the face of every clock was flipped horizontally and vertically. The hands on the clocks are all the same length, meaning telling hours from minutes is basically impossible. I see an opulent golden clock with carvings of unicorns and cobs of corn on a shelf. Next to it is a black and white clock in the shape of a pig holding a star with the face in the center of the star. There are tall wooden grandfather clocks and small round red alarm clocks with shiny metal bells on top. Mr. Higgins? My voice bounces off the walls of the shop, floating up to the room above me. Oleg comes down the stairs into the main room. Taryn, what can I do for you? He settles on the stool behind the counter. Well, I begin. I was wondering if you would like to come to the grand opening of City Hall. The whole town's there. I didn't want you to feel lonely. Oh, that's kind of you, he says. But they wouldn't want to have me there. Well, why not? Oleg sighs. Taryn and I have been in this town since it was founded. I was just a little boy with my parents when the town lost all control due to a lack of salt. I've seen all this world has to offer, and most in this town have seen nothing but what is within the city limits. They still believe nothing of what I have to say. Still, I say, you shouldn't be so alone. Taryn, Oleg continues, I appreciate that you care so deeply, but these types of events are not for me. I prefer quiet and my shop and my clocks. You should get back to the party. I turn to leave, but before I do, I pause. At least answer me this, I say. Why are all the clocks so weird here? Oleg nods. Of course. You aren't used to the timekeeping here, he replies. Time is an odd thing, Taryn. We decide to measure it into sections, as if the time between 1 hour and another is a big jump. Time is fluid. In Springshard, time means one thing, and in the rest of the world it means another. These clocks can show us what we believe to be the correct measurement, but we all know that everyone has their own opinions. These clocks are like the people who own them, different and wayward, but concise. With that, the two of us part ways. As I exit the shop, the fireworks from the opening ceremony start to go off. I look up to the window over the door and see Oleg's face. He's smiling as the colored lights from the sky reflect on the glass. Oleg and I have so much in common. We're fish out of water in this town. He's seen it grow, and I've seen the world around it. We're both odd to those from Springshard. Oleg doesn't enjoy the big crowds or noise of the city, and that's all right. He doesn't need to go to parties to have a good time. And if clocks and quiet are what make him, then so be it. Everyone's different, especially in Springshard. Hi, this is AJ Robinson, creator of Chronicles of Springshard and the voice of Taryn March. I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode. If you liked it and want to know when the next episode is up, feel free to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Springshard Chronicle for weekly updates and teasers. Episode 4 will be up on March 29th. If you like this episode and would like to listen to it even when you don't have Wi-Fi, it is available for download. If you want to listen while looking at a picture of the super cool cover art, you can also listen on YouTube. Check our social media for more information. Special thanks to Jess Melton, Derek Taggart, Peggy Robinson, and to you listening right now. I hope to see you in Springshard soon.